Erosion and deposition. A trip to the beach is fun. One of the best parts is playing in the sand, and there is so much sand. Where did it all come from? Was it made right there, or did it come from another place? Much of the sand on the beach comes from mountains. Erosion moved the sand from mountains to the beach. Erosion is the taking away of weathered rocks. After rocks have weathered into small pieces, they can be carried away by gravity, water, or wind. Most of the sand shown here was carried to the beach by water flowing in rivers and streams. As long as water keeps flowing, the bits of sand keep moving downstream. When the river enters in the ocean, the water slows down. The sand settles to the bottom of the ocean. The settling of sediments is called deposition. Deposits of sand form beaches all over the world. So erosion is when rocks are moved to new places, and deposition is when the rocks or the sediments settle out to new locations. You see the word deposit? That means to add to a new place. So think about that in your head when deposit means to add in a new place. Let's look at this picture of the beach. You know when you go to the beach and there's sand all over in the water? And then when the tide comes closer, that is because the sand is moving closer and closer. That is all coming from very far away mountains and breaking up through weathering little by little and then reaching beaches. Erosion. The beach sand might start on high mountain cliffs. Sometimes big chunks of rocks fall off the sides of mountains. Gravity pulls rocks downhill. Other times landslides move rocks and soil downhill. Rainwater moving over the ground erodes the broken rocks. Water transports rocks into creeks. Water flowing in creeks transports broken rock downstream. This process is called erosion. So it's not just one thing that happens quickly. It is a very long process through wind, gravity, and water helping the rocks flow throughout. This is where it starts off with these mountains through rubbing. They keep breaking down. The creeks help it flow down the river. Creeks flow into rivers. Rivers have strong currents. Rivers can carry many sizes of rocks. The rocks bang together and rub on the riverbed. The rocks break smaller and smaller pieces. The smaller pieces are pebbles, gravel, sand, and silt. Erosion continues. The farther the rocks move in the river, the smaller they get. They also get smoother and rounder as they tumble along. Now let's learn about another process that helps rocks move down. Deposition. When the water flowing in a river slows down, the rocks are deposited as sediments. Large rocks are the first to settle to the bottom. Powerful floods water move rocks of all sizes, even large boulders. When a river flows into a lake, bay, or ocean, the water slows down. Sand is deposited near the mouth of the river. The sand can form sandbars, deltas, and beaches. Farther out are deposits of silt and clay. Like I said, deposition is the process of helping the rocks be settled out in one place. Like when you think of deposit, that means to add something to a location. So deposition is the process of helping rocks be in a new place. Now, there are many different kinds of erosion and deposition. Let's hear more about them. Other kinds of erosion and deposition. Winds blow sand and smaller pieces of rock from one place to another. Sometimes the wind blows hard enough to carry a lot of sand and dust. Wind can erode valuable farmland. When the wind dies down, sand and dust are deposited far from their starting places. This is how sand dunes form, like Death Valley in California and Great Sand Dunes in Colorado, are two places where large sand dunes are formed. So look at these two sand locations. They have been blown around by wind, and the wind is so strong that the wind is very strong, the sand is very small, that the strength is able to move it around. Glaciers are another form of deposition. Glaciers are frozen rivers. Rocks can be frozen in glaciers high in mountain canyons. Glaciers form slowly through canyons. The frozen rocks scrape the floor and the sides of canyons. Glaciers weather and erode V-shaped canyons and U-shaped valleys. Thousands of years ago in the western United States, glaciers scraped down mountain valleys. They crushed and ground up rocks beneath them. At the same time, the glaciers covered much of the Midwest. These sheets of ice were over 1.5 kilometers thick. They changed much of the landscape by eroding and depositing rock materials in new places. What happens when the sand finally makes it to the ocean? Is that the end of erosion and deposition? Not quite. Waves erode beaches and deposit sand in different places all the time. As waves crash into the beach and sand continues to weather, sand gets finer and finer. Sand abrades the rocks and cliffs along the ocean shore. Erosion and deposition go on and on. So erosion is constantly moving pebbles and rocks to new places, which means erosion and deposition kind of work together